Hi everyone, hope you're well. Today for the latest edition of my Key Takeaways with series, I'm delighted to be joined by Karin Meurk Harvey. Karin is the Chief Commercial Officer at Smart DCC and a Non-Executive Director at Rotalk PLC. Karin, great to see you again.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, pleasure. No, thank you for joining us and for sharing your insights. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. So I'm Karin Meurk Harvey, as Chris said, and I am Swedish, even if I don't look Swedish. So I was born in South Korea, left on the street, and then adopted by Swedish parents to Sweden, where I grew up. Engineer for trade, I have a Master of Science from the Royal Institute of Technology, and then very soon realized that I wanted to go into more business and leadership role. So I studied some extra economics in the evening, and that enabled me to go into more sales.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in telecoms for a very long time. I won't tell you exactly how long, because then you know how old I am. And really enjoy the change in telecoms over this many years.
Fantastic. And I guess it's really useful in terms of I just want to sort of explore some, I guess, from a diversity sort of piece. Yeah. What barriers have you faced as an ethnic diverse woman in becoming successful in your industry?
Thank you for calling me successful. That's really nice to hear. It's many. Obviously, this is a period of over 30 years. So even in Sweden, when I started at Ericsson in 1990, just coming out fresh from as a grad student, you're quite naive when you've gone to school, you think you won't ever, face any diversity, any adversity or, any discrimination. And I remember, and it was a positive thing, but I had somebody, it was my boss's colleague, said to me, Karin, you're fantastic because you have 4 disadvantages. And I was thinking, my God, I have 4 disadvantages and I didn't even know about it. So I kind of stopped listening. But then after a while, I said, what do you mean 4 disadvantages? I had good schooling, I thought I did a good job. And he said, yeah, you're a woman, you're young, you're short, and you don't look Swedish. And I think that really shaped me, because that meant already from the beginning, just after 1 or 2 years in my professional career, I realized I need to set the mark here, I'm going to show them. Okay, I might have 4 disadvantages, but that's not going to stop me. So that's one example, and I think that shaped me from the beginning. So I'm actually quite thankful to him for saying that. And it was meant as a compliment, because what he said was, you're fantastic, despite having 4 disadvantages.
You've got to be extra fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing, you have to show that you're even better.
Yeah.
The other thing was when I got my job at Vodafone, before I started at Smart DCC, I was the head of commercial for IoT and cloud and security, which was a very popular job. And there were several people that wanted that job, both externally and internally. And one of the candidates, he was very disappointed. So when I eventually talked to him, because when he heard that I got the job, he actually took 2 weeks holiday even. When I talked to him the first time, the first thing he said to me, you just got this job because you're young, you're a woman, and you don't look, English. And I just looked at him stunned. Wow. And then what I did is I was very calm, and I just looked at him and said, have you worked for a big company? Have you worked for a small company? Have you worked in growth areas? Have you worked in, mature market? Have you worked on the sales side, on the, buy side? Have you worked abroad? Have you worked with this and this? Goes on and on. And most of them, he said no. And I said, so I looked him into the eyes and said, and how old are you? And he told me how old he was. And I said, and by the way, I'm actually older than you, even if I look younger, of course. And that's why I got the job, because of my CV.
Absolutely.
And actually, positively, he came around and he said, I could actually work for you, which I think was fantastic, amazing. However, we decided at that time it was better that he didn't. And the third example there are so many, but the third example I wanted to give was quite recently, I was in a meeting and it was somebody who was very aggressive towards me. And I think, it was a tactic, or he thought he could do that because I'm a woman. I don't know. But he started to scream and shout at me. And I said to him, I'm also really good at screaming and shouting. And he looked at me, yeah, because I have children. And when they grow up, I had to scream and shout. So we can continue and I can show you how good I am at screaming and shouting as well. But I suggest that we actually, calm down and have a professional meeting. And he just looked at me like that. And we actually had quite a good conversation after that. So yes, diversity. Yes, being a woman. But I think you just need to be calm and make sure that you have a point. And that's how you overcome it, I think.
Yeah, not letting the emotions sort of override everything. I guess on that side of things, if you could give your younger version of yourself some career advice, what would that be?
So I often get asked these questions, when I have this panel or this type of meetings, and what I say to especially young women is that don't be afraid of being yourself and be confident. I mean, it's so often when young girls are assertive, they are called bossy. And when young boys are, are being assertive, they're called, oh, he shows great leadership skills. And this happened, with my daughter. And even I, without thinking about it, oh, yeah, she's so bossy. And she had a really good primary school teacher. I think she was the head mistress.
Okay.
And she said, Karin, or Mrs. Harvey, don't call her bossy. She shows great leadership skills. I think, women are, and young girls are kind of raised to be, if you are a bit so assertive, then you're a bit aggressive, you're a bit bossy. And I think that's the first advice.
My two young girls have definitely shown good leadership potential then.
Perfect. And you should embrace that, and you should, reinforce that.
No, I agree, actually.
And if other people say, oh, they're bossy, no, they're not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So that's good. The other one is embrace feedback. So I think especially maybe women and young girls, they don't want feedback and they're worried about it. Oh, I'm not doing a good job, and oh, I'm probably not, shouldn't be here, and have a little bit of imposter syndrome. I think it's really important, people that give you feedback, they're taking the time, they actually care to give you feedback. And I read a study a couple of years ago, which was really interesting, that often male bosses, they don't give women as constructive feedback as young women, as young
Okay.
men, because they feel uncomfortable. They maybe have young daughters, so they feel like, oh, maybe she can't take it. Ask for feedback. Every time you do something, ask for it, whether it's good or bad, because then you learn something. Because otherwise, if you never get feedback, the people that do, and especially if it's young men that you compete with, after a couple of years, they will have learned much more than you. So I think that's really important.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
And the third thing is that your professional career is not a sprint. It's actually a marathon, and you need to, enjoy the journey, and you need to take the journey as it is. And a lot of people ask me about family, especially if you're a woman. And if you have young children, you cannot have the same job as you have when you don't have children. Especially not both of you can't have that. So you have to think about, what can I do that fit in with my family life and with my partner's life that still makes sense, that I'm still learning, it makes sense on the CV. And then when it comes a time when the children has grown up, or there is different circumstances, then you can do a job where it's maybe more travel, etc. Or you have to work, start a new job which is very, very demanding. So I think look at this as a whole, and what is successful, you decide what is successful, and you might decide to just go there, and that is success for you. So I think a lot of young people, not just young women, but I talk to a lot of women. They get, oh, how do I get there as fast as possible? It's not about that. And things goes in waves, and it needs to fit in with your life, your family, because don't ever, not have a family because of, or you think that will stop your career. I think in the modern, work environment, companies have to agree or accept that people have families.
Yeah.
So it has to fit in with the company as well.
That sounds great. We got time for one quick question.
Okay.
One final one. Yeah, I guess just on that and on that kind of thing. What changes have you seen in leadership styles to accept sort of gender and ethnic equality?
Yeah.
From work?
I mean, it's a huge difference. So when I started off 1990, as I shared, my experience, the managers, they were middle-aged, they were mainly men, especially in the tech industry, and they were white. And over the years now, it's become much less of a hierarchical structure. So it's been much more, short and fat, wide organization, and also they have embraced, people being authentic. I remember somebody said to me when I had my first line manager's role, oh yeah, you need to be a bit measured. You can't be, a bit standoffish now when you're a line manager. And you can't go around and pretend that you're somebody else. Yourself. You have to be yourself. It's exhausting to go, work, at least 40 hours a week, pretending to be something you're not. So it really changed over this year. So now the EQ, aspect is much more important. And a lot of big companies looking at that. The culture fit, the being authentic, have empathy. Coaching is not about, just control and command. It's about coaching. And also the diversity. People, embrace having diverse leadership, and it's not just diverse in gender or ethnicity. It's diverse in thoughts.
Absolutely.
People grown up in different places have different experience.
Yeah, so couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
fantastic, Karin. Thank you very much for that. Really, really interesting, really insightful.
Thank you very much. It was great.